you looked at. I understand that. I did answer the question. Just because you didn't get the answer that you wanted in your racist slant, that's one thing.
Before I tell you anything else, what you're about to see, I just want you to watch this interaction between Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott and a reporter asking him about his city vehicle. Just watch how he responds, and we'll break it down after.
But with that, his vehicle is still $55,000 less than yours. So again, I want to ask you the same question.
Okay, Tessa, we'll just stop you right there. We get it. We understand that your station has this severe right-wing effort underway. We get that. But you also, you guys are dragging this thing out and also not including all the facts. A vehicle that was purchased in 2023 is not the same price as 2025, right? You have to understand that reality. When you look at, I'm talking, you can let me talk, please. We heard your question. You've asked the same idiotic question now for 3 months. We understand that when you look at a base price for SUVs, base price of SUVs now are, as you know, between $90,000 and $100,000. You're talking about a police vehicle with police equipment on it added on top of that vehicle. It's very simple. And when you look at, these are not astronomical costs, right? You guys in your station in particular would never ask the President of the United States how much the beast costs. You wouldn't do that. You would never do that. This is ridiculous. Let it go. Next question.
For Governor Moore as well, his car costs about $78,000 to $80,000, and he drives across the state. Governor Hogan's car costs $70,000 now. Again, that was bought when he was state.
That's a long time ago. And I also would. Well, you looked at. I understand that. I did answer the question. Just because you didn't get the answer that you wanted in your racist slant, that's one thing. But what I will say to you.
So let me give you some context real quick before we dive into this deeper. That vehicle that Mayor Brandon Scott is so defensive about, it's a 2025 Jeep Grand Wagoneer that cost Baltimore taxpayers about $163,000. Let's talk about how bad Jeep has gone over the last, 2 decades. Remember, Jeep used to be that American company, had high quality off-road vehicles. Remember that back in the day before they got brought out by Stellantis, a European company, and just jacked everything up and made it really expensive. And I could talk a lot of mess because I had a Jeep and it had a lot of problems. But anyway, let's put this in perspective. That is more expensive, his SUV, than the median home price in several Baltimore neighborhoods. That's not me talking dramatic. That's literally what the homes are selling in his city. And when a reporter asked him to justify why his vehicle costs nearly double of what the governor of Maryland's vehicle costs, you'd see him completely crash out. He calls the question idiotic. He accused the reporter of running a right-wing effort. He told him to let it go and move on. Everything except actually answering the question. So here's the thing. This isn't just about an overly expensive piece of crap SUV, because while the mayor is just melting down over questions about his nice ride, he's in an even bigger fight with the city's top prosecutor. In that fight, it reveals a pattern that you need to see. We'll get to that, but first let's break down these numbers of this SUV. So here's what Spotlight on Maryland found when they started digging into the cost of executive vehicles across the state. So the governor of Maryland has a 2025 Suburban that costs about $72,000 with some security upgrades. That's about $10,000 for the total amount of $82,000. That's probably the price you're going to pay for SUVs nowadays. What about the Baltimore Police Commissioner? He has a 2024 Tahoe, costs around $72,000, the total amount $100,000. Then you got Mr. Brandon Scott with his 2025 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and you see the upgrades, $98,000 for the base, $65,000 for security upgrades, for the grand total of $163,000. So let's do the math real quick. Scott's vehicle costs $81,000 more than the governor's. It costs $63,000 more than the police commissioner. In fact, when they compared Scott's vehicle to 4 county executives in Maryland, those vehicles range from $51,000 to $77,000. His SUV is the most expensive executive vehicle in the entire state of Maryland. So not just Baltimore, the entire state. The governor has $10,000 in upgrades. Your vehicle has $65,000 $50,000 in security upgrades. What exactly is in there? Is it bulletproof? Does it have an ejector seat? Does it transform into a helicopter? Does it become a water boat? Even if we accept the security upgrades explanation, you're still paying $55,000 more than the next highest vehicle. The next excuse: you wouldn't ask the president about this. Well, dude, you're not the president of the United States. You are the mayor of Baltimore. If you want to talk about the presidential limousine, it probably needs to withstand RPG attacks, chemical weapons, and coordinated terrorist threats. The Baltimore's mayor, with all due respect, I don't think you're not facing that level of threat. And by the way, yes, people do question presidential spending all the time. Have you been around? I mean, think about it. It's called democracy. We need to question taxpayer money, regardless of who you are. And when asked about it, Mayor Scott tries to claim that the base price of SUVs, they're between $90,000 and $100,000. And that's when the reporter fact-checked him immediately.
You know, between $90,000 and $100,000.
Spotlight on Maryland fact-checked that claim. A 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer MSRP starts below $65,000. A 2026 Chevrolet Suburban starts around $63,000. And a 2026 Ford Expedition starts near $62,000. Prices well below what the mayor says.
A vehicle that was purchased in 2023 is not the same price as 2025. Right?
You just lied on camera, or you think we're in 2021 when there was so much fake money being pumped in the system. The prices of these vehicles were inflated to a crazy amount. And the willingness to say whatever sounds good in the moment, regardless of the facts, keep that in mind, because we're about to see the exact same behavior when it comes to his fight with the state attorneys over transparency.
The price of Mayor Brandon Scott's $163,000 executive vehicle matches the cost of some home prices in Baltimore City, and sometimes it exceeds it. Scott's SUV was bought using your taxpayer dollars.
Spoke with city residents who say that money could make a real difference in their lives.
It's just heartbreaking to know that people can spend that kind of money in greed, because to me, that's greed.
A resident who asked us to identify her as Miss T walks us through the place she's proud to call home. A home now selling for less than what the city just spent on the mayor's new executive vehicle. Miss T doesn't own the home, she rents it. A for sale sign went up in the front lawn just a few days ago. It's listed on Zillow for $160,000. Miss T can't afford to buy it. The home is $3,500 less than what the city spent in taxpayer money to buy Mayor Brandon Scott's new vehicle. $163,495 for a 2025 Jeep Grand Wagoneer with custom safety features.
It kind of makes me mad, considering that that is actually higher than my home. And then to see somebody spend that type of money on a car is like, must be nice. Must be nice.
He's currently in a major legal fight with Baltimore City State Attorney Ivan Bates. And this fight isn't about money or pride. It's about whether Baltimore's justice system operates with transparency or in secret. And the mayor, he is fighting against transparency. So let me explain what's happening here. The mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement is one of Scott's signature anti-violence programs. They work with law enforcement, they gather intelligence, and are involved in cases that eventually get prosecuted. Ivan Bates, the state attorney, the guy who actually prosecutes these cases, terminated his office partnership with this organization. Bates commissioned a legal review and found that certain information kept by Mose would be required to be disclosed to defense attorneys under Maryland discovery rules. That's basic due process. If you're prosecuting someone, you have to share evidence that would help their defense. But Mose is apparently keeping its work behind closed doors, according to the public defender's office and the city's inspector general. So Bates just said, I cannot ethically continue this partnership without transparency. He can face Brady violations. Convictions can be overturned. So he's out. So how did Mayor Scott respond? He commissioned his own legal review that contradicts Bates and claims that the state attorney's concerns are misplaced. He's essentially arguing that Mose doesn't have to share information because they're not technically agents of the state's attorney office. So think about that. The mayor is fighting against transparency. He's arguing that his anti-violence program should be allowed to keep information secret, even if that information could be important to the criminal case and the defendant's constitutional rights.
Why he disagrees with the mayor's office opinion.
Because I think that, number one, it goes against transparency. and goes against public policy. And secondly, I think it's inconsistent with the Maryland rules regarding discovery. Don't we, from a public policy perspective, want the state's attorney's office to err on the side of caution and to say that to do something undesirable, reopen convictions potentially?
So this could end up in court. And honestly, it looks like Bates is on a stronger ground. Prosecutors have a constitutional obligation to disclose evidence. If Mose is working with law enforcement on cases, those records are likely discoverable. But Mayor Scott would rather fight in court than just be transparent. Sounds familiar? It's the same energy as him attacking a reporter for asking him about his expensive SUV. So the bottom line here is that all Mayor Scott had to say was, you know what? You're right. This is expensive, even with the security upgrades. In hindsight, we could have made a better decision paying, right? Something more efficient. And I will take responsibility on that. Won't happen again. That's it. That's all it would have taken. That's all he had to do. But his ego won't let him do it. Just like Tiffany Hayard in her Tahoe situation, these politicians can't admit when they messed up, when they waste taxpayer money. Instead, he lied about the car prices. He attacks the reporters, pretending that the reporter is for some kind of conservative outlet. Compares himself to the President of the United States. Told them that question was just idiotic and to just let it go. And when his state's attorney tries to ensure transparency and protects defendants' constitutional rights, Mayor Scott wants to fight him in court and commissions legal opinions to justify keeping information secret. This is the leadership that Baltimore is dealing with. A mayor that can't just say, yeah, that was probably too expensive. Baltimore residents are struggling to afford homes that cost less than his car. Neighborhoods are lacking basic services. Instead of accountability, they get deflection and defensiveness. That's the story here. Not some right-wing attack, not some security upgrades. It's about a mayor who can't handle legitimate questions from taxpayers who fund his lifestyle. But let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.